prise de débat. The honourable member for Perth Wellington.
Madam Speaker, and I'm pleased to rise today to debate Bill C-15, the Liberal Government's Budget Implementation Act. I doubt it will become as much of a surprise to this House that I will be voting against this Budget Implementation Act. When I examine any piece of legislation, first and foremost, I look at how it will impact the citizens, the taxpayers, and the employers in my riding. And I can tell you right off the top that in my riding of Perth Wellington, this budget amounts to a tax increase on the hardworking families and taxpayers in Perth Wellington. If one examines Part 1 alone of this Budget Implementation Act, we see tax increases. We see the elimination of the education tax credit. We see the elimination of the textbook tax credit, the cancellation of the children's arts tax credit, the cancellation of the children's fitness tax credit. Gone is income splitting for families, and with it, the family tax cut. Gone is the universal child care benefit. Gone are so many programs that helped and benefited and provided real value to hardworking Canadian families. Tax increase after tax increase after tax increase. And with each of these increases, the Liberal government is making it harder and harder for families to make ends meet. I look at my own community of Perth Wellington. Perth Wellington is home to some of this country's premier cultural and artistic attractions. We are home to the Stratford Festival, North America's largest classical repertory theatre. We have Drayton Entertainment, which has 7 venues across the region, providing excellent entertainment options. We have Stratford Summer Music, which over this summer, over 6 weeks, will provide a wide variety of diverse talent ranging from the Harlem Gospel Choir to Whiskey Jack. Madam Speaker, it's an honor to live in such a diverse, culturally rich community. And I want to see more young people get involved in the arts and culture. I want to see more young people have the opportunity to take piano lessons, or dance lessons, or learn the art of the stage. And under our former Conservative government, they could do that through the Children's Arts Tax Credit. In 10, 15, 20 years from now, I hope that we'll be able to see some of the great artists, some of the great actors who grace our stages, some of the great musicians who perform at venues across the country. I want to be able to see these great talents and be able to say that they are there because we as a country and we as a community encouraged them to excel in the arts. Madam Speaker, some of my own vivid memories from my childhood, and granted my childhood wasn't quite as long ago as some of my colleagues was, but I do have some vivid memories of my childhood. And among those great memories was learning to play a variety of musical instruments as a member of the Mitchell Legion Band. Learning to play a musical instrument is one of my great passions in life, and being able to do that as a member was a great opportunity. I remember playing soccer behind Upper Thames Elementary School. I remember taking swimming lessons at the Mitchell Lions Pool. And for myself now, I can more fully appreciate the sacrifices that my own parents made in ensuring that all 4 of their children learned to play a musical instrument and had the opportunity to participate in fitness and sports activities like swimming lessons. And now, as a father myself, with 1 young daughter and a second kid on the way in a matter of days or weeks, I want to someday see my kids play soccer, learn to swim, and participate in these culturally rich activities. And in an era where we see an alarming rise in childhood obesity, I truly think that this Liberal bill is taking us down the wrong road. Let us as a community and as a country encourage a healthy future generation, not work against one. Madame la Présidente.
Madam Speaker, this bill also represents a tax hike on small businesses. For each of the next 3 years, the tax rate on small businesses will be increased by 0.5 percentage point. By 2018, small businesses will be paying 1.5% more in taxes. We all know the importance of small businesses to the Canadian economy. In 2011, small businesses represented roughly 30% of Canada's GDP. Small businesses are not tax havens for the rich. On the contrary, small businesses are simply trying to pay their fair share and provide jobs for our communities. The Minister of Small Business and Tourism was even instructed in her mandate letter to work with the Minister of Finance to lower the small business tax rate. Instead, we're just seeing another broken promise. Madam Speaker, the government's own finance department says this tax increase on small businesses will cost them $2.2 billion over the next 4 years. Their own officials acknowledge this tax increase will only further burden small businesses in Canada. Madam Speaker, I'm proud that our previous Conservative government created 1.3 million net new jobs since the recession. The majority of these jobs were in the private sector and were full-time. These jobs were created despite going through the worst economic recession since the 1930s. Madam Speaker, it is also very concerning that C-15 repeals the Balanced Budget Act. This act was brought in to protect Canadian taxpayers by ensuring federal governments do not return to the days of unnecessary deficits, such as those of the 1970s. The Prime Minister might not understand the importance of a balanced budget, but Canadian families do. Canadians know how to live within their means. Working Canadians have mortgages, transportation costs, daycare expenses, and many other expenses. They are responsible for ensuring these expenses stay in line with their income. Unfortunately, this government is not reflecting these values, and they are spending beyond their means. Madam Speaker, this is unsustainable. This is irresponsible, and this will have serious long-term impacts. Quite frankly, it is galling that the Liberals take such glee in returning to deficit. We have heard over and over again in this House that this government is in complete denial. The Parliamentary Budget Officer has confirmed that they were left with a surplus, and their own officials at Finance Canada have confirmed that they were left with surplus. Every credible authority has accepted this. The only people who have not accepted this are the Liberals across the way. Only months into their mandate, the Liberal government broke a major campaign promise to limit the deficit. The leader of the Liberal Party said they would run modest deficits of $10 billion. And yet in his first budget, the Minister of Finance introduced a deficit of $30 billion. There's no other way to put it. This is a broken promise. Madam Speaker, what makes this even more concerning is that the government has no plan to return to balanced budgets. During the campaign, the Liberals told Canadians that they would return to balanced budget within their term. Now, the Finance Minister is projecting deficits for at least the next 5 years. The government has shown no plan to return to balanced budgets.
Madam Speaker, the Minister of Finance has said one thing that is entirely accurate, and that is that we as Conservatives on this side of the House are stuck on this balanced budget thing. But you know who else is stuck on this balanced budget thing? Canadian taxpayers, my constituents in Perth Wellington, those who on a monthly basis have to budget and balance their own pocketbooks, their own monthly expenses, their own monthly revenues so they don't spend more than they take in. They know that in the long run, you cannot continually spend more than you bring in. Madam Speaker, I'm proud to be voting against this budget because it takes away valuable tax credits. It breaks the Liberals' own promise to lower taxes on small businesses. And it takes on billions of unnecessary and long-term debt. This is the wrong budget for the people of Perth Wellington, and it is not the budget the Canadians need. Thank you, Madam Speaker.